daily vlog number 313, and I'll have a 60-second Sunday sermon summary for you tomorrow. Today, I just wanted to share some thoughts about something that occurred today. I'm covering for a fellow pastor who is away, and one of his people came to me and wanted me to call someone who was dealing with their daughter who was going through grief. Their daughter's husband died this weekend. And so there's a lot of grief there, and rightly so. And this woman who came to me to tell me to call her friend was talking with this woman, letting her know that I would be calling her. And during the conversation, let me just preface this by saying this. I don't want to say anything against this woman at all. She actually was quite a lovely woman and a very good friend. This woman clearly cares a great deal about her friend who is mourning her son-in-law's death and also dealing with her daughter who is mourning her husband's death. So this is by no means to make fun of or to belittle her or anyone really who says these things I wanted to talk about. And it's the bad theology that we adopt when we talk to people who are grieving. We don't always know what to say. And so we try to be encouraging, we try to be comforting, we try to say the things that we think will make another person feel better. In truth, though, some of the things we say, they don't do anything to make someone feel better. There is no feeling better when someone dies. That comes in time. Working through grief over weeks, months, and sometimes years. These are my top 3 things not to say to someone who has just suffered a loss. And the first one is this, which I heard today. God only takes the good ones. No. God takes the good ones is saying that your loved one who you lost was a good person. And God yanked them out of your life because they were good? What if that person wasn't good? What if they were a real jerk behind closed doors? God only takes the good ones is an unnecessary judgment you're putting on the deceased. And it's also an unfair evaluation of God's motives for taking people. And I just want to break that down a little bit too, because we say, well, God takes this person. What we're saying is, God killed your loved one because, what? He needed him in heaven? God put you through all of this grief because God couldn't stand not having that person around him? That makes God out to be a monster, not a loving parent who is with this child through this grief, but someone who is the unresistible cause of grief. I think that's just bad theology. Instead, perhaps we shouldn't make excuses for God or try to defend God or to try to understand or ascribe motives to why God lets things happen, because those are just beyond us. Maybe instead of trying to tell people why God took someone, it'd be better for us to just sit quietly, to put your hand on their hand, to take them in your arms and hug them, to cry with them, to let them talk, to let them rage. Because there's the second thing. I know you're upset, but don't be angry at God. Why not? Be angry. Angry is a natural emotion. Anger is an emotion that comes out of pain. Some of the times we tell people not to be angry because we don't like to see that. We don't want to deal with people's grief when they're cursing out God. We feel like we have to defend God and say, now, I know you're suffering, but don't get carried away. God is big enough to handle our anger. He sure was big enough to handle mine when my dad died. And I wasn't cast into the pit of hell. Let people grieve the way they're grieving. As long as they are not physically hurting themselves. We can't control how people grieve. Yes, it will make us feel uncomfortable. Yes, it will make us feel powerless. But who cares how you feel? This is their time to feel, to cry and scream and wail and rage. Just be there. And the third thing is, don't say to someone, God will bring good out of this, just you wait and see. The intention is to say that God has not forsaken you, even though you may feel it. I know the intention is to say that God will bring you to a place where you have found some solace and healing, but it never comes across like that. God killed your loved one to teach you a lesson that you needed to learn. That somehow that lesson is going to draw them closer to God, and this was the mechanism, this death was the only mechanism necessary for facilitating that lesson. And that's horrible theology. Because what that says is that loved one who was dead served no greater purpose in life than to be an object lesson for you, grieving one. Yes, God will bring good in grief. I have experienced God's goodness in the midst of my grief. But God did not kill my father or my mother to teach me a lesson. They died because that's what people do. We die. We die old and in bed after 80, 90 years of life. We die at 50 from a heart attack. We die at 20 from a car accident. We die because we are mortal and fragile. And no, it's not fair. And it's not good that people die when they have so much life left to live. And we shouldn't belittle their life and what it meant by turning them into some divine object lesson that somehow puts us at the center of their life. God does bring good, but the good that I have experienced and the good that I have seen so many others experience is in the comfort, is in the strength to get through the next day, through the hard time that lay ahead. Maybe a better way of looking at this is not to say that God is going to bring good out of this situation, but God can bring good into it. That this is just one more way in which we can go to God, that we can experience His love for us in the comfort we receive, whether it be laying in our bed alone at night, or through the friends and family that surround us and weep with us. The story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead, where just before He raises this beloved disciple from the dead, He weeps with Lazarus' sisters because they're grieving. Let's take our cue for how to comfort the grieving from Jesus. He wept with them. Let's just be present with people in their grief and not feel pressured to say one thing or another, except, I'm so sorry. How can I help? I love you. That is the greatest comfort I ever received. In what ways have you found comfort in your grief? Let me know in the comments below. This has been Daily Vlog number 313. 52 to go. I'll talk to you tomorrow.